for almost 10 years now, almost to the day. Heather McLean, her facility record set a year ago, 4:17:01. Running under 4:20 is a rarity. I was looking up the GOAT of all time in my world, Mary Decker, Slaney Tab, 4:20 point, but that was back in the day when they were 160-yard or meter banked boards. So now this magical 200-meter bank track. Carson, how do you see this race developing? Again, two pace setters, one for St. Pierre and then the other for Jane Hedengren from BYU.
Well, Phil, we've got two big records up for grabs. First being Elle St. Pierre's American record of 4:16:41. That places her number 3 all-time, just about a quarter second behind Gudaf Tsegay of Ethiopia, 4:16:16. Kate Mitchell scheduled to take her through the 800 mark at 2:07, but Tessa Buswell of BYU has returned from that open 8 to run this mile and pace her teammates Riley Chamberlain and Jane Hedengren, the two BYU Cougars. We saw Jane at that historic 5K, 14:44:79 at the Sharon Collier Danville season opener. She's chasing after Shalana Yildiz' collegiate record of 4:23:46.
And you talk about doublers, Megan Hunter is also out on the track. She wins the invite 800 meters. She is out there on the outside alley. So this is going to be interesting. But Kate Mitchell, again, from New Balance Boston, dialed in there. And then we see Elle St. Pierre, the standout from New Hampshire, the dairy farmer in Vermont. She is all Northeast. She is everything about indoor track and one of the finest American middle distance runners, 32 and change opening 200.
And keep in mind, the opening 200 of a full mile is slightly longer than the closing lap, so it's going to be 200 even splits from here. Elle St. Pierre was supposed to run in the Wanamaker Mile at the Millrose Games a couple weeks ago, but stretched due to illness. So instead, she's trying to go out here and run what she's got. She's already had an 8:26 3K season best, one of the fastest times in the world. How's she going to do over just under half?
And again, she is less than a year having given birth to their second child.
Wow.
So just going through that phase of life as Megan Hunter steps aside and gives a couple laps of support to the rest of the BYU crew here. Again, we see our lead trio. That is Wilma Nielsen, who has been sort of left out of the conversation. She is back here in the mile race, scheduled originally, I believe, to run the half, but she is here in the mile. Nielsen, who is one of the top collegiate milers, up front with the lead trio. 1:35 through 3 laps. The crowd getting into this one. They knew it was going to be a highlight on Valentine's Day at the Track and Tennis Center.
And that top 3 right with the top group of white pacing lights. I'm curious if Nielsen is simply being a back pace setter for Elle St. Pierre, the reigning indoor NCAA mile champion, number 2 all-time over the collegiate distance. So we can't even count her out of that conversation as they head to this 800-meter split. This is going to be huge, Phil.
And Kate Mitchell moving to the side as we will leave it up to our top 2 hopeful finishers, Elle St. Pierre and Wilma Nielsen. The crowd is on it.
And they are right on pace, 2:07.3. It is now Riley Chamberlain leading the race for 3rd effectively. But Wilma Nielsen, what an impressive showing by the Swedish national champion. She is hanging right with the American record holder. She could be after a big Swedish record if she continues.
And Jane Hedengren just made a pass. She is now up into the number 3 spot. She's about 20 meters behind our leaders. Elle St. Pierre, 3 laps to go at 2:40. And here comes Hedengren at 2:42 high. So about 2.5 seconds separating our lead duo from the 2 BYU Cougars in 3rd and 4th, Chamberlain and Hedengren. There's St. Pierre and Nielsen right behind her. Her shadow, really, you don't see any crack in forms right now, Carson.
Not at all, and that's always been Elle St. Pierre's strength. That's what helped her win the indoor 3K title back in 2024. One of the all-time American distance greats with 400 meters to go. The clock just beneath 3:12.
She lives a very hard life as a dairy farmer. A little bit off balance there. Going into the turn, you see that often, whether they're the finest experienced professionals or novice collegiate runners. It is Elle St. Pierre starting to stretch things out from Wilma Nielsen. You see that separation about 8 to 10 meters. Then we're another 20 solid back to Hedengren and Chamberlain, the two BYU runners.
Remember that 4:23:46 time for the collegians, but this is all about Elle St. Pierre entering the final lap in her indoor mile opener.
3:44 and change with 1 lap to go. Hedengren and Chamberlain battling it out for the collegiate lead with Nielsen in between in third. Will Nielsen be able to hold on? It is Elle St. Pierre starting to look a little fatigued. 4:04, 4:05 coming for home. 4:10 on the clock. Elle St. Pierre, the crowd is behind her, lifting her up, bringing her home. She will run 4:18 and change. Chamberlain will finish second. Nielsen in third. Hedengren in the number 4 spot. And Elle St. Pierre with the victory, 4:17.83.
I mean, that's a complete dry run over the mile right there, Phil. This was a last-minute decision to run this race. But that is the magic of a year like 2026. When the biggest global championships is World Indoors, no major outdoor championships besides World Athletics Ultimate. Elle St. Pierre just came to run on a whim. Massive, massive effort, taking it out in 2:07. Kate Mitchell with a brilliant pacing job. And Wilma Nielsen still hung on for third. Chamberlain gets the collegiate record, but a 1-2-3 all-time. We just saw some history right there.
And again, Nielsen came in leading the country this year. 4:23.56, number 2 all-time, and the collegiate record goes down. Chamberlain, an incredible push, and again, the fact that those two BYU runners were there to help each other along. Hedengren made a move in the middle part of the race where things started to separate between St. Pierre and Nielsen up front, but the race played out incredibly well. We get a 4:17.83 from Elle St. Pierre. The facility record holds for another day. Riley Chamberlain, 4:20.61. What a run as we are awaiting our winner and the opportunity to sort of debrief Elle St. Pierre on a fantastic heat number 1 of the women's mile.
And even if we have to wait on that, it is still incredible when you consider the layers of the collegiate side of things. Because you talked about the BYU teammates running together. They're in a position where any of them can win any given race. That's what Riley Chamberlain showed us just there. That's what she showed us when she came from behind to get second in the BU opener. She is such a gutsy runner. She's put the team on her back to win 2 DMR national titles, and she finally gets to collect the headline accolade to celebrate Hedengren's time. Hey, she is now top 3 in 3 different distance events. She is something else.
So all time there have been 10 sub 4:18 miles